Okay, so this video is on participles, specifically what's called the perfect passive participle. So participle. Um, Participles are just verbs as adjectives. Quick overview of adjectives and verbs. An adjective just tells us more information about a noun. The quiet boy, the hungry boy. We're just learning more about the attributes of this particular noun. And then verbs just tell us what a noun is doing, the action that it's doing. So here, the quiet boy never sits, the hungry boy never throws, etc. Participles combine the power of adjectives and the power of verbs. So, for example, you have sleep and you have a cow. You want to express the fact that this particular cow is not any cow, it is a sleeping cow. That's one type of participle, sleeping. And then in this case, this girl, you want to express the fact that she is annoyed, so she is an annoyed girl. So participles describe a noun, number one, and number two, the noun that they describe is going to be the subject of the action. So for example, I see a fighting cat. The cat is doing the fighting. The Patriots are a well-coached team. Here, the team is what's being coached. This is a passive participle. Hence, the subject is what's receiving the action. We found my son's broken toys. Broken is the participle describing toys. Toys are what were broken. Again, another passive participle. You can notice the noun being described is always underlined. I've bolded the participles here. Now, this lesson is going to focus specifically on what's called the perfect passive participle, triple P. And what that means is that the verb, the participle, happened in the past, the action happened in the past, and it happened to the noun which is described. So the noun which is being described receives the action. So I saw the written words. The words are what have been written in the past. I know many well-liked students. Students were liked in the past. Politics is a frequently discussed topic. The topic has been discussed in the past. Did you see the conquered soldiers? The soldiers were conquered at some point in the past. Okay, to form the perfect passive participle in Latin, all you're going to do, take the fourth principal part. So for example, amatos a and that's it. The perfect passive participle is the same exact thing as the fourth principal part. The only trick is that you need to make the perfect passive participle, like any adjective, just agree with the noun that it describes in gender, number, and case. So here, I see the well-liked girl. Notice puelam, so it's a matam. I see a boy who's well-liked. Here, puerum amatum. I see a leader well-liked. Remember that leader is masculine, so use the masculine endings, and m. And I see the written words. Words are neuter, hence scripta verba. So, translation. The simplest translation, the translation that will always be correct when you're translating Latin into English, is translating the perfect passive participle as having been verbed. I know it's a little awkward, but it is technically the most correct. So I see the girl having been liked. I see the leader having been conquered. I see the words having been written. Now, there are other options as well. These are a little bit more complicated. For example, I see the girl who was liked, or I see the liked girl. I see the leader who was conquered, or I see the conquered leader. So these, you would just say the verbed noun would be your translation, or the noun which or who was verbed. So now let's look at some more complex perfect passive participle phrases. The trick with these is to remember that every word, and I'm just going to read this, every word between the participle and the noun it describes is part of the participle phrase. So for example, I see the girl. The word that describes it is amatam. So all this stuff, this abtuo amico, all explains puellam amatam and is part of this clause. So here, I see the girl having been liked by your friend, who was liked by your friend, or just liked or loved by your friend. Here's another one. I see the leader having been conquered by the Romans in Italy. I see the leader who was conquered by the Romans in Italy. I see the leader conquered by the Romans in Italy. Here are a few more ones that you can practice. One of the tricks that I recommend is bracketing these participle clauses. And you always bracket from the noun that the participle describes all the way to the participle. So in this first one, I'll give you a hint. You're going to bracket from porcus all the way to venditus. Everything in the middle is part of that phrase. So why don't you take a moment to practice these? See if you can translate these guys. Okay, here's the first one. Porcus ab mercatore venditus hodie edibatur. The pig, having been sold by the merchant, was eaten today. The pig, which was sold by the merchant, was eaten today. The pig, sold by the merchant, was eaten today. Notice I bracketed off porcus to venditus, and then I bracketed off the prepositional phrase that's in there. Here's 2. Again, pecuniam goes to datam, so the money which was given, having been given to the king by my sister. Obviously, the queen has it. Here's another one. The queen, having been annoyed by the king, gave money to the boy, having been wounded, who was wounded, the wounded boy. Any of these are fine. Okay, that's it. Hopefully this makes sense to you. If you have questions, you can ask me or Mr. Webb in class tomorrow. See you soon.